If you don't like vampires, then you probably haven't played Warhammer Fantasy Battles. In this video today, I want to showcase a Vampire Lord build I've concocted to take advantage of the scaling ability of Animate Dead, as well as hang out in melee combat as need be. There is definitely a lot of moving parts to this build, with a lot of decisions geared more around flavor than actual optimization, so approach this from an RP standpoint and less of like an outright over 9,000 type of build. I'm just trying to have some fun with a vampire theme. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things here is by upfronting the info on my channel to see if it's the right one for you. So with that being said, we'll be approaching this build initially as a Cleric, then pivoting to Wizard, and finishing as a Cleric. So we'd get 2 levels into War Cleric, 8 levels into Wizard Necromancy, then our final 3 levels into Cleric again. Since War Priest grants us our extra attacks, we don't need to go crazy there, and the big focus is getting the 6th level spell slot for Animate Dead to maximize our summons. From there, it's just really all about having fun with your summons, getting them close when you need to, and flinging spells down the line. One quick side note too is that you can actually become a vampire in the game, but it's linked to Astarion's storyline. The chance for it to occur is in Act 3, and that's really all I'll say. It just grants you a single bonus action that does 2d4 damage and heals you for the amount of damage that you did. I'm not sure if it scales. The Astarion will get it very early in your campaign, but that you will be granted that. It also does change your physical look. I'll say that too. And that's really just the gist of this entire video. And if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down and start making the ultimate vampire bro of your dreams. Before you head out, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. Each one of those things does help me out in a huge way. I currently have 89% unsubscribed viewership on the channel, and that's a metric I'm trying to change this year, so every little bit helps. You can jump ahead to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And if you need help with any other subject in Baldur's Gate 3, check out my playlist linked below and at the end of the video. But let's get started here on our best Vampire Lord build for Baldur's Gate 3. Before we actually get into the game, I want to talk very quickly again about spell slots. You could do this with a Bard, a Cleric, a Druid, for any kind of combination of how you want to approach this build. I went with the Cleric because I wanted to have some really good melee capabilities. Now, the reason I chose Cleric too is because it enables me to get a 6th level spell with the minimal amount of investment away from Wizard. What I mean is, if I put 4 levels here and 8 levels here, I'll still get a 6th level spell here on Cleric. So I could have this be a 4/8 Bard, Cleric, or Druid and still have the outcome of a 6th level spell. Conversely, if I went with a level 4 Paladin and an 8 Wizard, I would not get access to a 6th level spell. And that is a travesty because we need this thing, we need this this class to have that 6th level. So you'd have to essentially do a 10 and a 2 for a Wizard Paladin, a Wizard Ranger. I don't even think Eldritch Knight would work. Let's see. No, it wouldn't work at all. There we go. So there you go. I think you have to do 11 and 1. No, 10 and 2 does work. 10 and 2 works for Wizard Paladin, Wizard Ranger. So it's why we've chosen Cleric. You can choose a Druid or a Bard for this if you want. Just make sure you have a 6th level spell slot if you want to modify this build in any way. I just wanted to show you this so that you understand how these spell slots are going to kind of factor into the class. And it really has to do with how Animate Dead works, which we'll get to later in the build video. Loading into the game though, for character creation, you can pretty much go with whatever race you want to because we're going with a War Domain Cleric to start off, which will give us pretty much all weapon and armor specializations. So choose whatever you want down to maybe the certain cantrips. We've talked a lot about how I like a lot of the cantrips from Tiefling. My personal choice is Drow just because it's one of my favorite races in the whole entire game and it fits for me the kind of overall feel I've got for this class. And I made my guy look like he's in the WWE for whatever reason. But other fun ones can definitely be the Dwarf Dwagar. Really nice one here overall because they do get some fun cantrips. They get some fun advantages on saving throws for Charmed and Paralysis as well as for, here it is, advantage on saving throws and resistance against poison damage, which is just overall really, really nice. And if you start with a Wizard rather than a Cleric for any reason, the nice thing here is that they will be able to start off with proficiencies in Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Light Hammer, Warhammer, and That's it. I thought they had more, but they get all those. The Gith are always a really fun one. You know me, I always like to go for the non-crackhead version, going with the female. And of course, the Deep Gnomes are great, and Halflings with their lucky capability here. When you roll a 1 for an attack, ability, check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die and must use a new roll. But I'm going to select my Drow. Back to my WWE guy. And again, you're going to get Darkness here, which is a really good ability. For the cantrip on the Drow, but pretty much just really go with the race that you want, that you feel is going to play the best with what you need. Like I said, even going with a high elf, because we're going to be intelligence focused, is nice, because the high elf cantrip is an intelligence focused cantrip, so you can pull another cantrip into your repertoire early with the high elf cleric, which is really nice, or even the high half elf. So for Drow, we're going to then choose your sub race. I mean, I'm going Lolth because I'm going just hard in the paint on evil. And then class, we're going Cleric, obviously. Cantrips, we're definitely going to want to go with Sacred Flame, Guidance, and I would drop Resistance for Blade Ward. That way we can get some additional resistance when we're up close and personal. For our subclass domain, we're going with the War domain. And the big thing here is our War Priest. So when you make an unarmed or weapon attack, you can spend a War Priest charge to make an additional attack as a bonus action. This is crucial because right out the gate, you essentially get extra attack, right? It's not extra attack in the sense that you're getting 2 attacks per 1 action. You just can use your bonus action to get another attack, is what I mean. So it's a nice way to just get that on board very early in the game, and I like it. For our deity, okay, the reason I'm choosing a different one real quick here is just so I can show off. For deity, I would just go with Kelemvor, because it's the closest thing we can get to for like an evil god of the death. Usually you could go with something like Merkul or Baal or something like that, but obviously you can't do that for narrative reasons. So if you wanted a deity to go with and you're not playing a Lolth Drow, go with Kelemvor. This is the god of death for the most part. I know it's not literally the god of death. It's like a lawful neutral one, I believe, or something like that. Fair but distant, Kelemvor guides the dead to their appropriate plane in the afterlife. His clergy provides last rites across Faerun, but also destroy undead that have escaped Kelemvor's judgment. I don't know the lore very well, so someone can illustrate that in the comment section below. For background, I'm just going to go ahead and go with Guild Artisan for my kind of min-maxed approach to this, but please go with the background that makes sense for you and your playthrough of this character. I want this to be one that fits you and your playstyle, not the one that you see on the internet. And this is maybe a really good one for someone who wants to go about a Dark Urge. So that's going to set your background, right? So this can be a very fun Dark Urge playthrough. For our ability score, we're going to go ahead and clear this out. That lady is just going to town. And we're going to bring our intelligence up here to 15. Put 1 point into it. We're going to bring our dexterity up. And we're going to bring our constitution up. And now we're going to invest into some wisdom. Now, wisdom doesn't need to be a huge investment for you. You don't need to go up to 16 points in wisdom if you don't want. This is going to boil down to you, how you're approaching the game, what kind of character this is. Is this your main character or is this a companion? That's going to be important because you're probably going to want to put some points into charisma if this is your main character. I'd probably do something like that. But conversely too, if you want to spend more time in combat, I would do this. So we're going to focus on finesse weapons as our weapons of choice for this build. That way we don't have to splash into a 3rd overall stat with strength, right? We're just focusing on intelligence primarily because that's what we're going to be doing. The majority of our spell casting is going to be using wizard spells. That's the intention I have for this build. The wisdom for your cleric spells is more for the buffing side of things, especially since we're going with a war cleric who doesn't necessarily rely on the damage capability of the spell checks. You're mainly doing this to buff yourself, help out people with bless, maybe pull them out of a lockdown state with freedom of movement or using haste, whatever it is. Those buffing capabilities don't necessarily need a very, very high wisdom check. So again, boil this down to how you want to do it. I'm going to go with 16 dexterity, 16 intelligence, 12 constitution, and you know what? I'm going to put this at 10 just to give myself a little, just to really kind of lean into being more of a close combatant. And this is what I would do for maybe a main character. If I wasn't a main character, maybe do something like that. If I wanted to be less of a combatant, Do something like that maybe. Even pull the 2 bonus points off and put them here if I really wanted to focus on my spell casting. That way I'm really kind of jumping into both the intelligence and wisdom portion of this build. So now you kind of have some different configurations for this, and hopefully it helps you out on deciding how you really want to go about making this character work for your purposes in Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, also, before we progress, as far as our prepared spells, remember, I'm not necessarily worried about stuff like Guiding Bolt, even though it's a nice form of radiant damage. I'm more interested in stuff like Protection from Good and Evil, or Bless, or even Bane if I really wanted to. Stuff that is a concentration spell, sure, but stuff that's really aimed more at buffing and less at actual forms of direct damage. Sanctuary is really cool too. You can use this to buff someone into the party so that they're basically immune to damage. You or an ally cannot be targeted until you attack or harm a creature. You can still take damage from area spells though. So it's a nice way to kind of help out a character that otherwise was about to get alpha striked. So use these kind of spell slots for your cleric in the way that maybe focuses more on the buffing and defensive aspect and less on the actual offensive aspect. Because remember too, your spell slots are going to be linked to your, let's just do this, your wisdom, right? So let's do that, let's do that. So you can see that now we have 4 prepared spells rather than the 2. So just kind of keep those things in mind when you do kind of set up this character. Progression-wise for this character, we're going to go right into level 2 and just stick with Cleric. We just want to get our Guided Strike online as well as our Channel Divinity. A Guided Strike here, you gain +10 bonus to your attack roll. So you can get any kind of alpha strikes online if you need to, anything like that. And as far as prepare spells go, like I've said before, just kind of stick with stuff that is focused more towards buffing, less towards actual offense, since we want to have as ton of an investment here with our spell casting ability. After that, we're going to push into our wizard. And we waited here because we're not going to come back to Cleric for some time. You could reverse this if you wanted. Start level 1 wizard, put 2 points into Cleric, and then go into wizard again. What you want to make sure you're doing though is up to this point in the game, you want to make sure you're holding on to any scrolls you get so that you can actually use them once you've unlocked wizard. That's going to be pretty crucial for you. So for some cantrips, I definitely just want to go thematically here with Bone Chill. Let's call it Necro Chill. Friends, if you don't already have it. Blade Ward, you know, we don't need that since we already have it already, right? So I'd probably do something like, I don't know, this gives me a long range attack, this gives me a long range attack, and then Shock and Grasp is just an always nice one to have when you're up close and personal. As far as some spells go here too, choose whatever fits for you, but I'm definitely going to go with Magic Missile for sure. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is always a really good one. If you want to stick very heavily into the vampire theme, you can go with a lot of stuff like Disguise Self and Illusion spells. Chromatic Orb is one of my favorite ones in the entire game. I very much like Shield since we'll be up close and personal, and this gives us a reaction ability to allow us to do some damage. Now, you can also take a look at where is the one I'm looking at? Oh, there goes Sleep. Sleep is pretty good in the early portions of the game, but it does kind of fall off towards the end. So I definitely think it's useful to take right here at level 3, but you will probably find yourself swapping things off because it requires such a heavy spell slot investment for the amount of hit points you need to sleep things. But you can even do stuff like Find Familiar if you want. Burning Hands is going to be great because you're going to be up close. Charm Person is an amazing ability. And remember too, since you are a wizard, you're going to be able to scribe spells and have a lot of fun with all those. So just kind of find the ones that make sense for your character and your build and go ahead and push on forward. Once we get to level 2, our subclass is definitely going to go to Necromancy because that is going to be the biggest driving force here. We want to get to level 6 Necromancy because that's going to allow us to get really fun summons with Animate Dead. Spell slots as well here. Again, just kind of go with whatever makes sense for you. Let's see if there's anything. I don't remember if Longstrider is a ritual spell on the wizard or not. I know it is on a ranger, but if it is on a ritual spell on a wizard, you're going to want to take it because you can cast it on the entire party. It's a ritual. It's not going to use the spell slot, and it gives everyone 10 feet of movement as long as you are until long rest. That's what I'm trying to think of. False Life just because it's a necromancy spell here, but I'm going to just press some buttons. We'll push over this into level 3. Now, we're kind of a little bit of behind a power curve, but don't worry about that too much. That's going to pick up a little bit here for us. Magic Weapon is a pretty cool one. Darkness is an amazing ability if you didn't pick a drow. I love Misty Step. It's always really nice just to kind of have that ability to move around. Ray of Enfeeblement kind of hits into our necromancy theme, so this is a really good one here as well. I'm just going to choose it for the sake of this video and go ahead and press accept. Now we get into level 4 and we can choose our feats. Feat options are going to be really broken up based off of, do you want to be a more melee centric kind of vampire lord, or do you want to focus more on the casting portion of it? Nothing here is going to give you a benefit specifically to your undead that you're summoning, so don't really worry about that. Think more about the kind of character you want to be. Do you want to cast a lot of spells? We'll go with Elemental Adept. This way you are going to make it so that you ignore resistances to the specific element. Unfortunately, we can't use Necrotic here, right? But in addition, when you deal that specific damage, you cannot roll a 1, which is great. Another really good one when it comes to just casting spells is Spell Sniper. Now, rather than rolling a 20 to crit hit, you can roll a 19 or a 20, and you get an additional cantrip, so you can get Eldritch Blast if you so wish. Those are 2 really, really good ones. You can go with any of the Magic Initiate ones as well to pick up some additional spells. Say maybe, hey, let's go ahead and go this and pick up 2 cantrips from Druid, or a spell here from the Druid. So you can do something like that if you want. Mobile is always a really good one. The nice thing about this is if you go with more of a casting route, your movement speed increases and difficult terrain doesn't slow you down when you dash. If you move after making a melee attack, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from your target. So you can do that if you so wish, which is nice since you will have the capability to do melee. Shield Master is good here because I recommend using a shield for this build, because shields are very beneficial to spellcasters in this game. So we're going to be going with Shield Master for our option right here. But other really good ones here as well. Alert, just to get really high initiative. Ability improvement to say like, hey, you know what? Let's say we did something where we had 17 dexterity or 17 intelligence. We could use that 1 point to get 1 over the edge, or just invest right there and to double into intelligence, whatever you want. There's a lot of really fun things that you can do with that. I'm thinking if there's another one I was going to talk about. Mobile Lucky is always a good one here. You gain 3 luck points, when you can, which you can use to gain advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws, or to make an enemy re-roll their attack rolls. Since you are kind of up close and personal, you can go with Warcaster. You get an advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration on a spell. Someone made a really good shout out about this. You could, because Shocking Grasp is kind of lackluster, you could just instead go with Resilient Constitution, and this is going to increase that ability by 1. So you'd want to have 15 Constitution going into that, and then you would get 16 Constitution, and you'd get a proficiency. And you gain proficiency in that ability's saving throw. So you'd become proficient in Constitution, which would help out there. That's not necessarily an advantage, but you'd get proficient, meaning you'd gain your proficiency bonus in Constitution saving throws. And Concentration is a Constitution saving throw. God, that's so long-winded. And Savage Attacker is always just a really solid one if you want to do more melee damage. We're going to go ahead and pick up Shield Master here. You gain +2 dex bonus to dexterity saving throws, and if a spell forces you to make a dex saving throw, you can use a reaction to shield yourself and diminish the effect's damage, or take, on a failure, half damage. But back into that progression, go with another cantrip that you don't have in your party, like say, no one has friends, and go ahead and pick up friends. Spells here, this is still your level 2 spells, so you can go Cloak of Daggers, you can pick up Fireball, whatever makes sense for you. As we push here into our next level. Now, we are level 5 with a wizard. We're going to bring this all the way to level... you can go to level 6, then go into Cleric, then go back into wizard, or just go all the way to level 8. So we're just going to go ahead and keep pumping stuff in. Our big one is going to be Animate Dead, which will get next level by default. So you can actually skip this right here if you want to. But I'm just going to click right there. And we'll pick up Haste, because I do really like Haste. Another really good one is Vampiric Touch, because we are a vampire. In fact, you know what? Vampire. Counterspell is one you're definitely going to want to take eventually if you don't have it already, as a scroll of some sort. Fear is always great, because frightening things is a very powerful thing in this game. Fireball is always really good. I think I chose Fire Sphere earlier, not Fireball, because I'm stupid, but either way. Slow is always fun. Glyph of Warding is one of my favorite abilities as well. I also really love Lightning Bolt. because lightning is always really fun in games for me. So now we're jumping into level 6. And this is where things get fun. So Undead Thralls animate. Create an undead servant from a corpse. The target must be a medium or small corpse. And these are the big things that are really going to help drive this home for us. So Undead Thralls, additional undead. When you use Animate Dead, you raise an additional corpse. 2 for the price of 1, that's sick. And Animate Dead itself is going to explode for us. And I'll talk about that in its own little section. And then we also get better summons. So creatures created with Animate Dead have additional hit points equal to your wizard level, and your proficiency bonus is added to their damage. So our level 8 wizard is going to give them 8 additional hit points. That's lovely, right? In addition, our proficiency bonus, which is going to be 2, 3, or 4, depending upon our character level, not our wizard level. At this point, it would be level 3, and then at level 9, it would be plus 3, and starting at level 9, it becomes plus 4, I believe. Or maybe it's at level 10, but ultimately it'll be plus 4 to their damage, which is really good. That's the biggest thing here in Necromancy. The level 10 ability is really not that great. But let's just go ahead and pick some new things here. Blink is fun. Fly is always great if you want some really strong mobility. But we'll go ahead and pick up Haste and Counterspell. And you can choose whatever you want. I'm just choosing things to kind of show off in this video. And we'll choose just 2 more. Now here we are into level 4, which is very good. So we can pick up Fire Shield if we want. Avard's Black Tentacles or Testicles, whichever you want to call them. It's tentacles. Stone Skin, which is lovely because you're having the damage of things, and this lasts until long rest. The wall spells in this game are very good. So Wall of Fire is amazing. You can go Ice Storm if you so wish. We are on. I'm gonna go Phantasmal Killer because you know what, and Blight just because whatever. I'm a Necromancer. They're probably not optimal choices. I'm just choosing them. And now our final level in Wizard, and the reason I went to 8 was so that I'm going to go ahead and pick up Conjure Minor Elemental because that sounds fun. And I'll choose Greater Invisibility. So the reason I chose level 8 for Wizard is because I wanted another feat here. And I'm going to stick with Medium Armor, but you can pick up Medium Armor Master if you want. When you wear Medium Armor, it doesn't impose disadvantage on stealth checks. The bonus, blah, 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 blah. None of that matters because of the specific armor piece I'm going to recommend towards the end. But this does also give you it doesn't impose disadvantage on stealth checks, which we're not doing in this build, so screw it. So I'm going to go... You know what? Let's go ahead and pick up... Let's do Spell Sniper. And just do that. That way our spells kind of have a little bit more fun and more oomph. So we've done that. We're level 8. We're pivoting now back into Cleric. And I'm only going to be able to get 1 level on Cleric here because I still just don't have a level 11 or 12 character. Because like I've said before, I'm the worst content creator of all time. But it doesn't really matter. Level 4 for the Domain of War is going to be our ultimate kind of place that we end with this goal, right? We're going to be 4 Cleric and 8 Wizard. And the level 4 ability for the Domain of War, we're not going to get anything. We're not going to get any domain spells, anything like that. But at level 4 for the Cleric, we get another feat. So it's just a nice way to get another feat online. So once I press accept, this is going to end this portion. But choose again the spells you want to choose. Taking a look at all my Cleric spells, let's just go with something like, you know what? Protection from Poison is really good. Enhanceability is really good. And these aren't going to really be... My low wisdom score isn't going to affect these in a bad way. But if I wanted to use command or if I wanted to use hold person, it would. So just be mindful of that. Even using Prayer of Healing is nice because I can use one of my spell slots as a healing ability for the whole party. But Silence is a good one too. That even though it's not directly a buff for you, it's a way to kind of affect the enemy in the same way that Bane would be. So I'd probably be doing something like this, or maybe something like this, just depending upon how my party is spread out and what other spells are being covered by other people within my party. War Cleric is really here to give us a lot of martial ability, and mainly, like I said earlier, those spell slots. Before we jump into equipment, let's talk about Animate Dead because it's the most important focal point of this build. Now, this build, I went with a War Cleric mixed in with a Wizard using Necromancy. My good buddy Remortis did one using a Spore Druid and Necromancy, and he has just a fleet of undead zombies. I deliberately wanted a character that's a little bit more punchy in close combat and has a little bit more application across multiple facets of the game. But I still think the Spore Druid one is a really cool one. So take a look at the video in the description. You can have a lot of fun with a Spore Druid Necromancer, but both of these things are going to apply to these kind of classes. And the thing we're going to focus on is Animate Dead. Now, Animate Dead has a scaling property depending upon which level in which you cast it. So I'm going to go ahead and just click level 3. Click this. So you can see here, I can press Animate Skeleton, creates a skeleton that specializes in ranged combat, or Zombie. This is just your generic level 3. And then as that progresses up, it'll change into a ghoul and then eventually a flying ghoul, and you'll be able to summon a pack of them if you use this as a level 6 spell slot. So if I do this, then click this as a, let's just say, you know what, the flying ghouls are pretty cool, so we'll click this. And you can see I'm summoning 4, but you can see the difference here, right? If I press 5, I can only summon 2. If I press 4, now I'm sorry, if I press 5, I'm summoning 2. If I press 6, I'm summoning 4. Now, typically that would only be 1 or 3. Because we're a Necromancer, we get to summon 1 additional animate corpse, or we animate an additional corpse. It's worth noting too that there is a ring called that something of the Crypt Lord, and you'll get that from a specific quest in Act 3 that will give you create undead, which will make a mummy for you. And I do not believe that this is a scroll, so it's only from that ring. So we've got 4 corpses here. Let's have some fun. Oh, look at my disgusting ghouls. Now, we have all of these guys right here, and we have quite a few things going for them. And we'll talk about this when we get into equipment, but I'm going to show it off here regardless. We have Undead Ward on them. It's part of the helmet piece that I'm wearing. Undead Thrall, a creature with the Animate Dead. It has additional hit points based off the character's level and a proficiency bonus on damage rolls. This Undead Ward gives it resistance to everything here. But these guys come out here at level 6. And they're going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time. Now remember, these things will also last until I go to sleep. So they're just there for me. They're helping me out. They've got claws. They're going to do some damage. They can paralyze. All you have to do, though, is go and find corpses to do this again. So it helps to have a character that has a lot of strength to pick the corpses up. That's Karlach for me. And then just kind of hold on to those corpses. I believe you can actually put them in the stash, but you're going to want to have some source of corpses. And if you don't, when you wake up, just go kill people. You'll get corpses quite quick. So this is how our Animate Dead works, just to kind of show off. You know, of course, I've got 4 ghouls, flying ghouls, but this could have been 4 normal ghouls if I wanted it to be. But just to show off how Animate Dead works and how it scales depending upon our level. And it is why we chose this combination, is to get that level 6 spell slot. The level 6 version of Animate Dead is what allows us to get 4 ghouls or 4 flying ghouls. For gear options, let's go over our weapons. So one of the really good ones in the very start of the game is Falar Aluve. You want to just focus on any weapon that has finesse on it. This one's nice because it does give us Falar Aluve Melody, which you can either sing or shriek. The sing here is going to give a bonus of a 1d4 to attack rolls, charisma, wisdom, and intelligence saving throws. And then the shriek is going to give a 1d4 penalty to enemies to charisma, wisdom, and intelligence saving throws, as well as also receive an additional 1 to 4 thunder damage. This is nice because it's going to help all of your summons do a little bit more damage, and it can help you trigger any kind of, or make sure that any kind of spells you cast land a little bit easier. So that is a really fun one. The other one too here is the Sword of Life Stealing, which you'll get in Act 2. It's very thematic, so I stuck with it. But on a critical hit, the target takes an extra 10 necrotic damage as long as it isn't a construct or undead, and you gain 10 temp hit points. It's also got a weapon enchantment +2. It's just a very nice, solid little short sword, unfortunately. Not a big, cool long sword, but it does do quite a bit of fun stuff there. Also, the Infernal Rapier you can take from Will in his quest at the end of Act 2. You gain +1 +1 bonus to spell save DC, and instead of its dexterity modifier, the affected entity added its spellcasting ability modifier to attack rolls. So this one's going to be good if your intelligence is higher than your dexterity, because it's going to pull in your intelligence modifier rather than your dexterity modifier. If they're both the same, it's negligible, right? But also you get Planar Ally Cambion, so you can summon a demon to just help out at the same time. So you have demons and undead. You're crazy. You are a real big vampire, bro. But you can even just stick with the staff if you want, because there are so many good wizard staffs in the game. This one here, you're going to get an Act 3 Arcane Enchantment. You gain +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. Arcane Barrier, alleviate the arcane burden of spell casting with the power of this staff. This spell, the spell you cast doesn't cost a spell slot. The next spell. So I could use this, cast my level 6 Animate Dead, and this next spell you cast doesn't cost a spell slot. So it would basically make it so I have to wait for this to reset, right? But still, it saves me the fact that I can keep that level 6 spell slot online. You can also use this and be yourself an elemental energy source from Draconic Goddess Kareska, as well as there's a topple bound into this. But there are a lot of really good finesse weapons in the game. Pretty much every single scimitar is a finesse weapon. There's a Dark Justiciar one in the Temple of Shar you can use. You'll get access to my miserable inventory. You get access to Belm in Act 3 as well, which gives you perfectly balanced strike as well as whirlwind. So if you want to be more up close and personal, this is a very, very good one because it gives you a lot of AoE attacks. It's very fun because remember, it is a finesse weapon, so you'll be using your dexterity modifier rather than your strength modifier. But those are our weapons. Let's get into some of our other gear. Now, before we talk about any other gear, let's talk about the Necromancy of Thay. You're going to find this in Act 1. Use it and hold on to it. And then in Act 3, you're going to find the Thracian Codex, the Thracian Codex, something like that, in a particular magic library, I guess I'll say. I'm trying not to spoiler it. And then you're going to learn something from the Necromancy of Thay that is going to be crazy. It's going to slot so well with this class, and you definitely need to make sure you do it. I will say that. If you haven't done it, if you've already burned the Necromancy of Thay, don't worry about it. It's just a really cool thing that you'll get as far as summons go. But I don't want to ruin the surprise. It's very, very fun. So stick with that. Outside of those things, though, you can use pretty much any kind of wizard helmet if you want. Any of the Colbrim hat here, once per turn, any conditions inflicted on a target also apply encrusted with frost, or arcane acuity from this hat every time you do fire damage. Even just using the flawed Helldusk helmet, because we are focusing on medium armor in this build, is great. The wielder has a bonus to saving throws against spells and +1 constitution saving throws. Remember, those constitution saving throws are going to be your concentration ones. But the absolute go-to best slot is the Circle of Bones. Undead Ward, allied undead, which you're going to have plenty of, within 20 feet are resistant to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage. And also this grants you Animate Dead as a necromancy spell. You have so many ways to get Animate Dead if you didn't get it from a scroll. Into our armor pieces, you have the Adamantine Scale Mail, which you'll get at the end of Act 1. As well as the Dark Justiciar half plate. This one's nice just because you get Shar's Aegis and you get an advantage on Constitution saving throws. I like that, and if you don't have the Armor of Agility, which you'll get in Act 3, this is a nice kind of go-between, which you kind of can't miss it. And Shar's Aegis is encase yourself with a shimmering field of magic that increases your armor class by 2. So it's basically Arcane Shield of Faith, Faith Shield, whatever the one is from from the Cleric. So it's nice to kind of have it. It is a concentration ability though, so keep that in mind. But the ultimate best in slot, in my opinion, is going to be Armor of Agility because we're focusing on being a dexterity class. You can go with all the mage robes if you want, but because of this character, I envision him in plate armor. Again, Warhammer vampires in my mind. The nice thing here is exotic material. Add your full dexterity modifier to your armor class. Medium armor is usually limited by 2. This gives us the full shebang. Additionally, this armor does not impose disadvantage on stealth ability checks, and we get a saving throw of +2. So I have 22 AC with this in my shield on, and I'm getting my full +3 for my dex into my armor. I absolutely love it. For your cloaks, you've got Cloak of Displacement, which is really cool because you You have a really cool kind of blur thing going on, very vampiric, you know? But it grants enemies disadvantage on attack rolls that target the wearer. This effect lasts until the wearer takes damage. So this can be a really cool one just to kind of get an early defensive buff up. Vivacious Cloak is very early to get in the game, but you gain 7 temp hit points after casting a spell while in melee. Remember, you cannot stack temp hit points. You can only have one source of it, so go with whatever one gives you the most. Like if you're going with sort of life stealing, maybe stick with that. Whatever one. And remember though too, they're going to have different triggers, so it can't hurt to overlap. Cloak of Elemental Absorption is really nice here though. Absorb elemental damage once per short rest. Take half damage from the next elemental damage target attacking you, and then deal an additional 1d6 of that element type on your next attack, which is sick because you're a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. So if they hit you with their, let's say, fireball, you can shoot a fireball back, and no matter what, you're going to do 1d6 additional damage to that fireball. It's a really, really fun cloak for a wizard to kind of just really play with a lot of damage you're going to be dealt and dealing. Outside of that too, into the shields, you get the Adamantine Shield at the end of Act 2 if you so wish. The nice thing about shields is you get Shield Bash, so it can knock things prone unless they succeed a dexterity saving throw. And then things that are prone is even better. Take a look at that. They can't move or take actions, bonus actions, or reactions, and has disadvantage on strength and dex saving throws, and attacks against prone creatures have advantage if they're made within 10 feet of the creature. It's really fun. Also, this prevents any kind of crit hits from hitting you, and they're reeling if they... when a melee attack misses you, the attacker is sent reeling, which means there's a -1 penalty to attack rolls for every turn remaining. Just a very early shield to get access to. After that, another quick shield is the Shield of Devotion in the beginning of Act 2. This gives you a spell slot, which is lovely. Also just grants you aid. So it's a nice way to get more spell slots. My favorite slot, or my favorite shield for this build is the Shield of the Undevout. Your foes have disadvantage on saving throws to resist your spells or actions that inflict fear, and you have plenty of ways to do that because you're a wizard. Also, you gain 1 level 1 spell slot. It just kind of fits too. You get these from Blackguards or Blackguards, whatever one's supposed to be in this game. Pretty sure it's Blackguards, but it's a really good shield nonetheless, and you get Shield Bash as well. As far as our jewelry goes, I didn't even go into... I'm wearing Legacy of the Masters. I didn't even go into the gloves. So we have Gloves of the Battle Mage. When a weapon attack roll inflicts a condition, the wielder gains Arcane Acuity. Again, just to recap on that, you get a +1 bonus to spell attacks, rolls, and spell difficulty class per turn remaining. Strength saving throws +1. Very good for any kind of melee casting hybrid. Blackguard's Gauntlets here. You get Inflict Wounds. It's not the most amazing ability, but it is a necromancy spell. Fits into the theme. Strength saving throws and attack +1. That's not you get an additional attack. That's attack rolls get +1. So they're very good gloves you'll get in Act 3. Beginning of Act 3, you will get Legacy of the Masters. Gain +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls with weapons and strength saving throws +1. It's nice to have these strength saving throw bonuses because our strength is 8. This allows us to resist any kind of athletics bullshit. For boots, just use whatever boots you find. Any kind of Shadow Step boots. Shadow Step boots. Any kind of Click the Heels, which gives you dash bonuses. There's so many movement bonus boots. Just have at them. There's no real, these are the best ones you gotta have to use. Now, just use whatever you find. Blackguard's ones are the ones I'm using right now because I gain Long Strider. I'm gonna lose Long Strider unless I got that scroll. So this gives me that ability to just kind of use it, or just have it on by default. Also, athletics +1. Lastly, we have our jewelry. So I'm wearing the Amulet of the Harpers right now, advantage on wisdom saving throws, and also grants me just shield automatically, so I don't have to waste a spell slot on it. But I should probably be using this instead. The Spell Crux Amulet, which gives me spell slot restoration. It's going to be a bonus action, lasts until long rest, and I can replenish any spell slot. So that level 6 spell slot I spent on Animate Dead, I can just simply replenish it rather than having to go through a whole new rest. As far as rings go, we have the Ring of Mental Inhibition. When a foe fails a saving throw against one of your spells or actions, they gain mental fatigue, meaning they have a -1 to wisdom, intelligence, and charisma saving throws for every turn remaining. Also, the Ring of Exalted Marrow, Exhort the Risen, which you can see right here. Subjugate the undead with your commands, and Ghoulish Touch. It was thematic. It's why I picked it. I don't think it's the best ring and slot, or best in slot ring, but I definitely think it's just a fun one to go with our overall build. And also, as well as Killer Sweetheart, when you kill a creature, your next attack roll will be a crit hit. Once spent, this effect refreshes after a long rest. There are some really good ones here that you can get from the Mountain Pass. There's tons of rings and jewelry. Just go with whatever fits the role you have in mind, right? Are you going to go more casty? Get more caster related items. Going to go more melee? In this case, like I've gone with a lot of melee items, this really works for me. You can pick up a ranged weapon if you want. I've got this because this character actually is a ranger that I respec for every one of my videos, but you can see this is a pretty sick one as well if you want to. You're going to get this in Act 3 from a weapon merchant, so it's a pretty easy one to pick up. But this is all of your equipment and your gear for your character. Let's have some fun with some showing off time. When it comes to combat and kind of how this build works, let's take a look at some quick things first, because in the heat of the moment, it might be hard to kind of suss them all out. We have 6 spell slots, and since we are a mage, we have an arcane recovery charge, meaning the number and level of spell slots the arcane recovery action can restore. You cannot restore spell slots above the 5th level. So we can go ahead and use this and get back maybe a level 4 spell slot, stuff like that. We can use that amulet that we talked about in equipment that gives us the arcane recovery wherever the hell it is. It's somewhere in here. I'll click this. If you didn't know you could do that, you can do this. You can click a slot and then just find the actual corresponding item. So we can go ahead and do this and recover our level 6 spell slot if we need to. We have got our Channel Divinity, which is going to be for our Guided Strike. Of course, this is a reaction, of course, so we can't use it just right on whim. And then we have our War Priest, our War Priest charge, which is going to give us an extra attack, quote unquote. Not the extra attack that you get if you are, say, a fighter character and use a melee attack with an action, which then grants you another attack within that action. You're using your bonus action. Point used to gain an extra attack as a bonus action. So you are not going to be the melee combatant as you would if you were going to be maybe perhaps a ranger or a warrior or anything of that sort. But those are some of the things you really got to take a look at before you even jump into combat. Even too, if you want to look at it, stuff like casting a magic weapon, it is a concentration ability. So if I go ahead and use this, now I've concentrated here onto my sort of life stealing, and if I go to use any other concentration ability, I'm going to lose that. So you just kind of have to choose what kind of character you want to be with your spells, how your spells are going to kind of factor into your play style. Am I going to, okay, well, you know what? I cast this, but you know what? I really actually just want to bless all my bros here. And that drops the enchantment off of this, but these guys are now stronger. So kind of keep those things in mind. And if you have a character that has Long Strider, cast it on your summons, because Long Strider is going to apply to your summons just as well as it will to you, and it's going to last until a long rest, so you might as well have that active. Even like so Long Strider here, or even stuff like this, you know, Thoroughly Stuffed, this will all activate on your summons for you so that you can keep them buffed up and in good shape. Jumping into actual combat, let's show off some fun here. Now, we have the flying ghouls, which in my opinion are just a little bit better than the normal ghouls so they can fly. And we have this really cool ability called Devour. So bite a knocked out, prone, or sleeping target and deal 6 to 33 slashing damage. This goes really well with Tasha's Hideous Laughter, which knocks things prone. You can sleep things. There's so many ways to do any one of the number of 3 things right here. And it does 6 to 33 slashing damage that also heals that many hit points. So you get quite a bit of healing from this capability, and all 4 of your ghouls have it. But they can also dash, fly, all sorts of jump, fly, all sorts of fun things here. But they also have their normal claw like we showed off earlier. So 6 to 21 damage, lash out with deadly claws, and possibly paralyze the target. Now, of course, that's not a ton of damage, but I've got 4 ghouls at my disposal. That's a ton of damage. What is that? 24 to 40. That's not 2 times 4 is not 40. Let it be known. 84, right? So like 24 to 84 damage, give or take. Man, my math is impeccable. There you go. Okay, we hit it. Oh, he saved it. No big deal. We can just move on. And I'm just hitting this guy who's a very hard target. I mean, probably, you know what? We'll get fancy over. I can't even get over there. This guy knocked them all down, so they've got no range, but still we'll have some fun. We'll hit this thing. Oh, it's saved. Who would have thought? And we'll switch over to me, and then I can do whatever the hell I want in this situation, right? And the nice thing too is If you're in combat with this class and you lose one or two of your undead, well, just go ahead and use Animate Dead again. There's so many ways for us to have recovered this level 6 spell slot that we can just go right back to fighting. And you know, you can just go ahead and do a long rest too before you jump into a particularly hard fight. But I can jump up here and start doing some damage. I can use my actual action to instead maybe throw like a chromatic orb here and just juice that sucker up. So it's a level 5 chromatic orb doing 70 to 56 damage. We can have a lot of fun. We can put back on magic weapon. We've got vampiric touch we can take advantage of, but I can also use some of my support capabilities as a cleric and use Shield of Faith. Blade Ward, I can turn that back on, bless my undead, or even bless my other bros. So we have a lot of utility as this class, which I really enjoy and I really like. What are some of my bonus actions I can do? Anything fun? You know what? Hey, we don't have any concentration spells up right now. So let's go ahead and do, you know what? We'll add to our summons. We'll summon another one of the, and just for the sake of video, I'm going to juice this bad boy up. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there you go. Now I got a jacked spiritual weapon fighting by my side. And, you know, we could have done, let's do like, which one gets to go next? This one? I don't know how much movement he's got. Yeah, he's got half movement, which is probably not enough. No, of course not. Why would it be? I was going to say, let me try to knock something prone with Tasha's Hideous and have him devour it. But you know what? Of course that wouldn't work. You can even just go ahead and do a Rave of Enfeeblement, stuff like that. But, you know, we did just use a bonus action, but let me go ahead and just jump over here. Just to show off, we can still do damage. You've seen spells. Spells do damage, right? Okay, that thing did 13 damage with the thing, with his main weapon, and had I actually had my bonus action active, we could have kept wombo comboing with more War Priest charges. Just kind of depends on what you want to do in that turn, right? Did I want to sit back and act as a turret and blow things up with my spells, or did I want to use my primary action to start getting into close combat, the following bonus action of War Priest charges? It's all sorts of fun that I get to do. And then my Flying Ghoul, I can bring him in here to join in with the fray or keep doing more damage over here. So it just, you get a lot more bodies on every single bit of combat, which is really nice. You know, this class doesn't need to be stupid overpowered doing 5 million damage a hit, because it just adds so much more utility to your entire party that it frees them up to do more of whatever the hell they want to do. Do you want Jihiro to go be a Druid of the Moon, shape-shifting, and not having to worry about getting overwhelmed as much? Well, now you got 4 extra bodies to throw into the fray. It's a really fun class that I think is very flavorful. I think it makes for a really awesome playthrough for Dark Urge, especially because you will not be you'll have plenty of corpses to choose from if you go Dark Urge. And I think too, it's everyone likes necromancers. I loved playing Shadow Knight and Necromancer in EverQuest. Necromancer is like one of my favorite ones from Dark Ages of Camelot and all these other MMOs that I've played. People generally love puppet or pet classes, right? Diablo 2. Who didn't play a bone Necromancer? But hopefully here now you have a really good idea of how this class can come off, this Vampire Lord, Vampire Knight, whatever you want to call it, that has a lot of fun being in melee, but can also cast just as many spells as a lot of the other spellcasters in the game, up to level 6, which is a very high level of spells. You had access to plenty of things through scrolls too. We didn't even talk about that, but since we are a wizard, we get to scribe all these scrolls. I don't have to sit there and hope my spell kit from my main class and subclass gives me the spells I want. I'll just go learn them. So you have all these fun ways to kind of delve into a lot of different facets of this game. And I think of all the builds that I've done, this one next to like maybe the Eldritch Knight is the one that's most interesting to me because it can do so many things in the game really well. So hopefully this helps you out in making a vampire in Baldur's Gate 3. I didn't touch on the Asterion aspect of it and him actually making you a vampire, but that's really a heavy spoiler thing, and I don't want to go into that. I don't want to ruin it for anyone who has not seen it. I know the game's been out for a couple of months, but this is a single-player narrative game. I'm not about to ruin that experience for someone so that you can see like an internet min-max video. Like, I'm just not going to do that. But it's definitely a really fun take you can have on the game. It doesn't make you some sort of cool vampire character if you're playing like other games, but it is a way to get access to a true quote-unquote vampire in the game if you want to take that route. But if you have any other suggestions for this build, hey, you know what, I noticed you took War Cleric, but I think Knowledge Cleric would be a little bit better here so that you can tap into a lot more of the kind of skill monkey aspects of knowledge. Or, I know you went with Necromancy, but I definitely think War Cleric and Spore Druid is the way to go. Whatever it is, let it be known in the comment section below. And please do check out Remortis' video on the Spore Druid, not Cleric, Spore Druid Wizard combination. It is just as fun, if not as fun as this. I mean, no, it's just as fun, if not more, than this build. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.